Hi friends, I'm Olga Koelsch and welcome back to my studio. I'm very thankful for the great feedback you gave for the recent video about 10 easy ideas for Christmas cards. That was really great, thanks a lot. I decided to put everything into practice and paint a wreath, a Christmas wreath, using most of the elements which we practice, which we learned in the previous video. I think that will be a great opportunity to learn not paint only single elements, but bring them into composition. So let's try it.
For painting a nice wreath, first what we need to do is to map out the circle on which we will build our wreath. Any plate will make it. I hope you could see this line, but that's not very necessary. As a basic color for greenery, I'm taking Phthalo Green. It also could be Viridian, for example, in a mix with something brown like burnt sienna. I like it, gives a bit of a warm feeling for greenery, very Christmassy. And let's start to build our wreath. For me, it's convenient to go in this direction. I might guess that if you're left-handed, might be easier to go in that direction, but that doesn't really matter. And as we trained a lot and we painted a lot in the previous video about 10 easiest ideas for Christmas cards, we just be applying everything to this nice wreath. So first I'm starting to paint with holly leaves. I paint this rather watery, zigzag, wavy, sharp leaf. And as you're probably guessing, I'm taking the second brush and I will use permanent red for reds. And immediately, while this area is still wet, I'm painting a circle, a red circle, and I leave small white spot for the berry. And I paint another circle and I leave this nice small spot of light for the other berry. It's always nice to balance two berries with the third one, composition wise. To make it a little bit different, you wash your brush and soften a little bit the colors, so this one will be a little bit lighter. You could also go with your brush and lift up some color from one of the berries. It's nice for contrast, for diversity, to have different shades in one group. Let's add more of these holly leaves. How I paint them? Sometimes I just paint the middle one and fill in the greenery. What I love to do is to leave some white spaces. I forgot it here, but it's always nice to add just white, leave some white areas. And one more. In this case, I would like to leave a little bit area around the middle one. And what I like very much when colors are mixing with each other. That's why I'm painting a little bit too quickly, maybe, if you are painting right with me. But you could always go back and watch it again. It's very important to not to stop, let's say. Now I painting pine tree branch, and that's in principle it's just brush strokes which I bring to one branch. You could paint in both ways, from edges to the branch or from the branch to the edges. Just be very confident in your brush work, so it will look very natural. I add some burnt sienna for the branch, and I will map out the second branch. And what I'm going to do is to drag out this very brown color from the branch, and that's how I get nice color and nice texture. It feels like in this moment a lovely pine cone would be very much welcome. And we painted already a pine cone in the previous tutorial. I'll just remind you how I do it. It's, in principle, it's just a stamp. You paint like a stamp with your brush, with a relatively small brush. And when you get to the end of your pine cone, your brush strokes are getting smaller, and somehow they tend to the point of the brush. This one was long, and we could throw up a short one, slightly round one around. And I encouraging you to let watercolor mix. I know that for some watercolor artists that's kind of a trouble when you get these bleeds. I find it very beautiful and very special, very unique, because that you can't really copy, let's say. It always be very unique, it always be very yours. That's very important. We could paint now, for example, something with more like eucalyptus leaves. For eucalyptus leaves, we are painting rather round leaves, and sometimes we bring them to the branch, and sometimes we could see the front part of the eucalyptus branch. And my very favorite moment when I'm dragging color, the different color from the previous painting. Immediately, because this paper is still, this color is still wet, I'm going to add, let's see, I would add a red bubble. Christmas bubble. I paint the red outline. I wash my brush. And then I go along the edges with my brush and soften the edges. What's important with painting glass objects is to leave a lot of white areas untouched. And they should be relatively sharp. They should have relatively sharp edges, so it will give us the feeling of the glossy surface, of the glossy texture. So let's paint the red lovely bubble here. And I think again would be nice to paint another branch. You see how I'm in principle I'm just recreating all the elements which we painted which we painted in the lesson about 10 easy ideas for Christmas greeting cards. I think that's that's the name, but you could find it. And I just arranged them all into one wreath. And in principle, you could do it with all trial, like with all these training videos, for example, 10 easiest flowers, and then you arrange all the flowers into wreath. Why wreath? Because it's very pleasant and very easy composition. It's very easy to paint a circle and arrange everything on the circle. And of course, it's great idea for a card, for a centerpiece, because you paint a circle, you put some name inside, or Happy Christmas, sorry, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, something like this, or Dear Mom, and you have something very unique. Or if you are interested in selling in print shops, that could be a really ready design for a bag or a t-shirt. So a lot of applications which I really like. I like when our art is not lying down somewhere hidden in the table, in our desk, etc. Let's paint some mistletoe. Mistletoe has long leaves, and we paint them. I set my brush in about 30 degrees. I paint a long stroke, and I'm going back. I try to leave a little bit of area in between these two strokes. The more curvy you paint everything, the more it is interesting. I personally like to add some curvy to all my paintings. Even you see these pine branches, they have some curves and they are uneven. So try to avoid symmetry, try to avoid being too ornamental, I would say. We paint all these picture in principle one shade of green, but of course if you vary, slightly change amount of burnt sienna and what it was, phthalo green, you could get different results. For example, right here I add a little bit more of burnt sienna and suddenly I get slightly warmer leaves. What's important when we paint in a wreath is to follow the curve. And if that's not handy to paint for you like this, you could always turn your paper. I prefer to paint like without turning the paper, because it brings some variety, but that's also completely fine to do that, no really problem. For white berries, I'm mixing, I will show you right in the paper, I'm mixing just very super diluted red, and I drag out the color from the green. And red and green, that's the opposite colors. If you're talking about the color wheel, that's why together, if we mix them, they creates that kind of a dirty mix, which is very pleasant shade of gray, and that's what exactly we need. So in principle, I'm just painting from the same color which was in their leaves. I wash my brush, I dry it, and I drag out some pigment, some paint from paper, and that's how I get very beautiful, sophisticated shades of white. Because, for example, if we just outline these berries, that would not be maybe that intriguing. And you see, I use that color which I have around in these leaves. I just drag it out and distribute in all the painting. Now it feels like we could repeat the holly to balance a little bit the picture. So I imagine that it will grow in this direction. So I paint the middle vine and I create these outlines. I wash my brush, dry it a little bit, and go down and distribute these watery areas a little bit down. Just like this. It really cries this place for something red, and of course hollyberry is just what we need. Let's put one. We leave, it's very important to leave for berries this small white spot, and I leave it like this, just to flow. It feels that these two colors are a bit similar, so I wash my brush and I go a little bit around and remove some of the green color. Right now it feels like something bold green would be nice here, so I repeat my mix, but slightly bold consistency, phthalo green and sepia. Actually, I think first I will paint another branch, another fir tree branch, and it's completely fine to paint needles in different directions. Find out what fits you, what fits your hand, and you just fill it in with the very confident brush strokes. That's what's important here in this painting. And just enjoy how all the colors are mixing. I will add a drop of burnt sienna. We are getting up to the top. And what I think would be nice is another round ball, but I will make it in burnt sienna. So I'm taking, what I'm doing now, I take burnt sienna, I paint the outline, I wash my brush, I soften the edges, and distribute this brown color on the ball, and I add with very dry color. I took it from the palette directly. I just do some outlines for nice contrast. Now, what are we going to do with this small little mishap? First of all, I take a piece of paper towel, remove some water, and I just paint a fir tree branch over it. Done. So usually if something is not working well in your watercolor, it's very easy to fix it. No problem at all. I want to add a few very dark, bold holly leaves. Same style as we did before, I just took them a little bit more on the bold side. And as usual, I leave some white areas, especially along the middle line. They often grows like this, 3 or 2 leaves from one point. Let's imagine that that point is hidden here. So the third leaf will grow, but we can't see that point of the leaf. It's hidden underneath our ball, just like this. I like this color, and I think I'm going to add some dark areas just in our Eucalyptus branch for the balance. I think we already got into that idea that somehow 30 branches repeat one another. But now let's practice a bit the shorter one, the one with short needles. Same thing, you just paint your brush strokes a little bit shorter and maybe kind of a little bit more tense. Don't afraid to overlap everything, and add some spots of brown color, and just enjoy how everything flows and mix. You could think whatever you could add to this wreath, everything would be lovely. For example, let's paint white rose on the top. I think that's what we missed, and that what could be really nice. So I mix, I do not have any space here, but I will mix a little bit red and a little bit green to create this gray color. As we paint white rose, there is not such a watercolor with white, but there are plenty shades of gray color. But to make it more intriguing and interesting and more matching our idea, I'm going to add slightly drops of permanent red, and with my brush I just distribute everything. In principle, I'm painting with, would not sound romantic, but I'm painting with dirty water. You could have a look. Wow. But you see, that brings fantastic results. So don't be afraid of dirty water, of dirty colors. If you add just few little drops in all these puddles, a little bit, not overdo it, not overthink it, you'll get a beautiful white rose. And I would like to balance it with some green and with some green leaves, of course. I think one rose leaf would be nice here. I do not want them to be on focus, like a focal point, so I paint them rather small, diluted. It's in principle, it's just adding brush strokes. I'm pretty happy with what we have. I would recommend to add a few details. So I prepared bold mix of phthalo green and burnt sienna, and with the tip of the brush I add here and there a few details. Some small tiny needles at the ends of holly, for example. A little bit emphasizing the middle vine. Some texture to the branches. Of course, it's nice to maybe to add some tiny little dots on this bowl, imitating glitter. Yes, we're imitating glitter. It's actually also a nice tip how to paint glittery things. You just paint very patiently, a lot of dots, and once you have a lot of them, it will feel like a glitter. Just about this. It might be nice to have a look. I think would be great to add some contrast to this branch. I just go over like this. Some small spot into the rose, maybe one more leaf, one more branch. It could take a while to fill in all the gaps, and that's all up to your imagination. I would recommend you to find the right moment to stop. For me, it's very complicated, the most complicated part in the painting, but you need to stop somewhere and leave a lot of air in your painting.
Thank you so much for painting with me, for watching this video. I hope you really have very special holiday mood and you enjoy the process and have all these snowy vibes around. I wish you a Merry Christmas and great holidays, and see you next time. Bye bye.